Hello everyone, my name is Cyanide Scourge and welcome to another SCP Reactions by SCP Explained Story and Animation. Today we're going to be checking out SCP-1579, Different Skin. Now, I just want to say something real quick, and that is that I'm going to stay away from the most popular SCPs, at least the ones that I know, because I know a lot of SCPs that I know that a lot of other YouTubers are checking out, but I already know about them, so it'd be kind of like fake for me to like look at these SCPs as if it's my first time, and really it's not. So I'm gonna stay away from that. I'm gonna be doing some more of the more niche SCPs that not a lot of people know about. And this is one that I definitely do not know about. So yeah, we're doing this one. Before we start this video, what I'm going to ask you to do is click on the link in the description of the video, the original video, in the description. Yeah, you know the one. And just open that up if you're on a computer, desktop, or any other device that can open multiple tabs. Open up a clone window of that link and mute the video and let it run in the background while you're watching my video. This will give the original creator their watch time as well as their ad time if they have ads. So, yeah, please do that if you don't mind. But with that being said, let's get straight into the video.
Ranger Halter felt the bark of the tree trunk slamming into his back, practically knocking all the air out of his lungs as he tried desperately to slow his frantic breathing. The sound of his own panting filled him with a sudden, horrifying thought. If he could hear his own ragged breaths, then it could hear them too. He clamped a hand over his mouth, clenching his jaw shut so tightly that he thought his teeth might splinter.
Is this gonna be like a Skinwalker situation?
His free hand gripped the
God damn!
gun, shuddering.
You that paranoid?
A twig rang out somewhere behind him. It had caught up to him already. He could bolt, make a quick dash for a cover behind another tree, but it was close enough now that it would see him. And if it did, it would come rushing after him with a speed that even a seasoned park ranger couldn't match. As much as he tried to force himself to stay still, the petrified curiosity got the better of him. Halter peeked out from behind the tree and immediately wished he hadn't. It had all started out as what sounded like an everyday occurrence.
My brother in arms, if you're being chased by a monster that wants to kill you, why would you want to look at it? You have plenty of time to look at it while you're getting your ass eaten, okay? That's all I'm saying. I'll still be running.
High atop his watchtower.
Man's not black. He doesn't know.
In the Glacier National Park, Ranger Halter had been enjoying the view of Montana's Rocky Mountains, a cup of coffee from his thermos in his hand. Then the familiar squawk of his radio had cut short his appreciation of the serene scenery. Halter sighed, tossing the remaining contents of the cup over the tower's railing, wondering what kind of day he was in for as he went to answer the radio. Most of the time, things in Glacier Park were as peaceful as they looked, but the park ranger knew that staying vigilant could make all the difference when it came to finding a missing hiker in time, or the difference between deterring a group of campers away from a family of bears and having a hell of a mess to clean up. He pushed down on the button for the microphone, connected to the bulky radio that took up practically an entire desk. "Halter, thank God," came the relieved voice from the other side. "We've been trying to reach everyone, put them on alert. We've got trouble. Reports of a coyote gone feral attacking folks. I'm on."
Okay, this is an absolute skinwalker. It has to be. No other way. This has to be like a skinwalker. But I'm guessing there's going to be more, because there's no way that it's just a skinwalker, right?
"On it," Halter replied, grabbing his gear from the cramped watchtower as he continued to speak into the mic. "Where did the report come in from?" "Not far from your station. I'd say about a click west from your position." Stowing his tranquilizer gun, Ranger Halter descended the ladder from his watchtower down to ground level. As a park ranger, Halter valued the environment he worked in. And as a fan of the SCP universe, we know how much you value intricate world building, or in some cases, world destroying. But either way,
I do appreciate some world building. There's an ad here.
World Anvil. World Anvil is a comprehensive set of world building tools that not only help you craft and organize your unique setting, but also present it in a captivating manner. From wiki-like articles and interactive maps to a full-fledged RPG campaign manager and novel writing software, World Anvil has everything a world creator could dream of. World Anvil equips you with over 25 templates, prompting you to dive deeper into your creations. Enrich your content by embedding maps, images, sound effects, and even little secrets for that immersive touch. With their innovative design, you can easily visualize your world through maps, chronicle its history with timelines, and fine-tune events with intricate details. Your crafted world can be beautifully showcased on a unique homepage, inviting others to dive into your vision. Got a sudden idea while working on another? No problem. World Anvil lets you swiftly create new articles or link existing ones, ensuring you never lose track of your inspiration. But my personal favorite feature is their interactive maps. Beyond just go to worldanvil.com and use the code SCP to grab a whopping 51% off any yearly subscription. Explore, create, and share with World Anvil. The sun was already starting to dip out of sight behind the trees. Pretty soon it'd be pitch black, save for the beam of his flashlight. He had to move fast. Coyotes were only known to attack humans on rare occasions.
Damn,
Usually they
it's
kept
going
away,
out at night
at
too.
least enough to make them a minimal
My boy, you're
risk. But
fucked.
waiting for him,
You were
just
fucked
west
from
of
the
the
start.
watchtower wasn't a coyote. At least, not at first. Watching it from behind the tree moments later, Ranger
Not at
Holter's stomach
first.
turned at the sight of the creature. It walked bipedally, like a human, but the shape
Oh,
was
what
wrong.
the fuck?
Its legs looked broken, but that hadn't stopped it
Ew.
from catching up. Instead of bending at the knee, they were Z-shaped, pointing back behind the creature, then twisting back again in the opposite direction at the
Oh, that's
tree.
actually
They
disgusting.
looked more like the legs of a dog, but they were far too big. The same could be said of the arms, bent out of shape at multiple points like its legs were. The creature was a mess of misshapen limbs. The cartilage in its ears had seemingly reformed into points, and there were claws protruding from its fingertips, practically bursting out from where a human's fingernails would be. But
So yeah,
beneath
this
it
is just
all,
a
and what
human
alarmed Ranger
fingernails
Holter the
turned into
most
claws.
was its
Ew.
skin.
Yeah, this is just a
It had darkened
skinwalker.
in patches, layers of fur sprouting over those areas, but there were still parts that remained clear, where skin, human skin, was still visible,
Oh,
peeling away to reveal
dude.
a new fur-coated layer underneath.
Ew.
It looked like a grotesque accident, like something ripped straight
This
out
is
of an
like
old
straight
horror
up
movie.
body
The kind
horror.
of monster that a mad scientist would make by haphazardly splicing DNA and playing God. Holter checked the tranquilizer gun in his trembling fingers, still empty after that most recent shot. He reached for another dart, slowly sliding it into the loading.
What the fuck's a
system,
dart gonna do?
readying the pistol. It cocked and made a sound. The
Oh
creature's
my
malformed head
God.
turned, snapping directly towards the source of the noise, directly towards Holter.
Deserved.
He turned to
Deserved.
sprint away, trying to expand the distance between him and it. If he was too close, the dart wouldn't have enough momentum when he pulled the trigger. The toe of his boot snagged on something solid, unmoving, a root from the tree he'd been hiding behind. He felt himself tumble, landing with a hard thud against the forest floor. His gun, it had fallen from his grasp. He
Deserved.
scrabbled around in the dirt for it, barely able to see where the tranquilizer had landed in the dark. Just as his fingertips brushed past something metal, Holter felt the force of something heavy strike his back again. This time, though, it wasn't a tree. It was the creature. It snarled, gnashing its candid jaws that were protruding out of its skull, rows of sharp teeth that had uprooted the old ones, burying themselves into the park ranger's neck and not letting go.
That
Until
motherfucker
it stopped
tall.
moving for good.
Yeah,
A few
he
short
deserved
hours
that.
later, a convoy
I'm not
of
gonna lie to you.
mysterious unmarked vehicles arrived at Glacier National Park. The rest of the park rangers who had reported the strange activity were approached by shadowy figures who refused to give their names or offer up any form of identification other than
One thing I noticed with the SV Foundation is that they find out about these things fast. Like, it can be the most obscure signs of anomalous behavior, and they're just like, they pull up in like 5 fucking SUVs, like, hey yo, what's up? We're here to take this thing. Like, damn, they were quick.
just referring to themselves as experts in things like this. Not long after, none of the others would remember Ranger Holter or the incident that had led to his untimely death. After administering amnestics, it didn't take the SCP Foundation search party long to discover a lone coyote sniffing around the remains of a park ranger covered in blood.
That guy
Wild
got
animals to be
brutalized.
brought back for testing before being re-released into the wild. Meanwhile, the Foundation scoured
Okay,
the
wait,
rest
is
of
that the
area
actual thing
until
though?
they came across the
They're
real
not just picking up.
culprit. Standing in a
Okay,
clearing a
okay,
short
yeah, they're
distance
just
from a
picking up
footpath through the
coyotes, just in
forest was
case.
SCP-1579. Of course, the next challenge was getting it packed
Oh,
up
wait,
and
that's
transported
it?
to Biosite 66 without touching it. To the untrained eye, SCP-1579 looks to be fairly unassuming, even as far as anomalous objects go. It is simply an old stood for, along with the bright green moss that covers it. Although, curiously, this moss doesn't seem to dry out and die in responses to changes in humidity, nor does it affect SCP-1579's structural integrity. As for
Okay,
where it
just
came
random
from and who
moss
made
that
it,
lives
those
forever.
are still unknown. As if the answer to what holds SCP-1579's anomalous properties, whether or not the cedar it was carved from or the moss coating the sculpture possesses some unknown properties, or if SCP-1579 was somehow imbued with these after being created. Initial testing by the SCP Foundation's researchers determined SCP-1579 to have an abnormally high resistance to the type of damage wood, and particularly cedar wood, is susceptible to. For one, it does not seem to show any signs of rotting or natural
It's hard to
degradation.
destroy.
For another, it is also resistant to heat, at least to a certain extent. It doesn't burn the same way other objects constructed from cedar wood. However, this
Okay, so they
sculpture
can
is not
destroy it, it's just really,
entirely
really hard to.
indestructible. Pieces can be easily chipped off of the main body of SCP-1579, and these splintered fragments continue to carry the same anomalous effects as the rest of the sculpture, even when separate from it. But of course, you want to know about the creature. How does this supposedly harmless, if a little structurally abnormal cedar wood sculpture connects to whatever it was that killed Park Ranger Holter? Well, it's quite simple actually. SCP-1579 killed Holter. Not directly, you understand, but by proxy to its further anomalous properties. Still confused? Well then, how about a demonstration?
And my guess is that it turns the coyotes into skinwalkers.
Let's take a look at one of the Foundation's preferred test subjects, an expendable member of D-Class personnel, probably spending multiple life sentences working here at the SCP Foundation, rather than
D-Class
behind the bars of a
personnel.
maximum security institution. Now, what would happen if you place this delightful individual in the same room as SCP-1579? Well, nothing initially.
They turn into
That is until
skinwalkers?
the subject touches the cedar wood surface of the sculpture, either out of
Oh.
curiosity or following the instructions of a Foundation researcher. That's when the real anomaly starts. The wooden sculpture will exhibit a slight but observable movement, shuddering slightly as if moved by an unseen force. This will precede the person who touched the object feeling a burning sensation, that kind of irritating, painful heat that spreads underneath the surface of the skin. The burning will always begin at the area of their body that made direct contact with SCP-1579, and touching it again at any point will trigger a reactivation of the sculpture's anomalous effects. Subjects experiencing the effects of SCP-1579 have described the feeling as being akin to a bad sunburn that rapidly spreads across the skin
Ouch,
from the point of
dude.
contact, only to stop once it has affected a person's entire
Sounds like
body.
changing the genetic
Following the
makeup or
subsidians
something
of the
like
burning
that.
sensation, subjects experiencing the side effects of touching SCP-1579 will notice an immediate change to their skin. Within a window of 3 minutes, their skin
Yeah.
becomes thin and paper-like in its texture, before starting to peel away. Once this stage occurs, the peeling skin will reveal a new layer underneath, hence the colloquially used codename for this anomaly, different skin. However, this so-called different skin isn't merely a new layer of otherwise ordinary human skin. Instead, it will belong to another species entirely. A person coming into
So it's
contact
like they're
with
shedding into a
SCP-1579 will
skinwalker
find
once they
themselves
start
rapidly
touching this
developing
thing.
new skin that shares the physical traits, as well as matching DNA, to that of a number of animal species. It should be noted that these features will continue to rapidly develop until the subject is entirely transformed, and is no longer considered to qualify as a human being. As for the specific transformation that occurs, there are a number of known outcomes that repeat in the following
So
cycle.
were all of those
Let's say our
coyotes
D-class,
humans?
We'll call them Subject A, touched SCP-1579 at the start of the cycle. They would, after the burning sensation stops and peeling begins, start to sprout dark feathers across their torso, arms, and
Oh,
upper
no.
legs. likely with a great deal of pain.
It's more
as the
than just
sharp pull of
coyotes.
These feathers start to burst out from beneath the skin. Beneath the knees, Subject A will see their legs start to become yellow and scaly, as well as a change that causes their toenails to simply start to painfully protrude outwards until they form pointed, blackened talons. Subject A's face will also start to grow feathers. However,
This is just Pinoxo logic. If you know,
these
you know.
grow outwards away from the areas of the nose and mouth. Flight feathers will also protrude from the forearms, multiplying in number until their entire body is covered, at which point Subject A, on every level including genetically, more closely resembles a Corvus corax, more commonly known as the common raven, than a human being anymore. Take another test subject, Subject B, and
So
get
you
them
didn't
to
even
touch
fully transform?
SCP-1579 right after. Their different skin is covered in brown fur that's approximately 4 inches long. Their lips and skin underneath the fur will darken, and their nose will become constantly moist. Claws will start to grow from their fingertips, although these will be notably
Blech.
smaller than those of a fully grown creature of the same species, an Ursus arctos horribilis, or a grizzly bear. Then we get to the point in the cycle
So it's
where
like an
some unwitting
incomplete
hiker
transformation.
encountered
They just turn like
SCP-1579
somewhat
in the
human,
forests of Glacier
but
National
also
Park, Montana.
creature.
When this Subject C, touched the cedar sculpture,
What happens if they
their
touch it
skin
multiple
began to
times?
grow layered fur, as the cartilage of their ears is separated from their tissue and replaced by new, reshaped cartilage. Much like Subject B, who SCP-1579 turned into a grizzly bear, Subject C also had darkened skin, a moistened nose, and longer, sharper nails. It was at some point during this transformation that an unassuming park ranger stumbled upon Subject C. Frightened by what he saw, this ranger was unable to identify that what he interpreted as attacks by some kind of half-human, half-animal hybrid were actually desperate pleas for help, as Subject C was transformed into a coyote. Although it's hard to say which physiological change triggered by SCP-1579 is the most alarming or unpleasant to experience, the fourth kind is
All
in
of
no
them.
way any more pleasant than the preceding 3 in the cycle. Subject D of this particular series of tests will find the new layer of skin that emerges under the old to be hairless and of a green coloration, often with brown markings.
She turned into a
Unlike
lizard?
the previous instances, their skin will rapidly begin to dry out, and seems to be far more reactive to the humidity of the surrounding environment. It is also far thinner than that of the skin possessed by other transformations that SCP-1579 causes. So thin, in fact, that the eyeballs of Subject D will be visible through its eyelids, which rapidly become translucent, similar to those of the Suracris regula, otherwise known as the Pacific tree frog. Repeated
turn into
activation of
frogs.
SCP-1579's anomalous properties will trigger the next transformation in the cycle, whether the cedarwood sculpture is touched by a new subject or repeatedly by the same person. In the latter instance, where a subject is re-exposed to SCP-1579, the additional changes their body undergoes will be significantly more painful. Their already newly replaced outer layer of skin will fail to dry out and will begin bleeding instead. 3 or 4 consecutive exposures to SCP-1579 will lead to excessive bodily trauma for the subject, usually causing them to die from shock before the 4th transformation is complete. And as we're sure you can imagine, an amalgamation of a human,
So
a raven,
touching it
a
again and
grizzly
again
bear,
just
a
ramps up the
coyote, and a
pain.
tree frog
Okay,
is hardly
I
a
don't think they're
pleasant sight.
X-Men.
This unfortunate fate was
I
suffered
think
during
that's
one
an
of the first
out-of-pocket
incidents with
statement.
SCP-1579 that brought the Foundation's attention to it. During an elementary school field trip, a teacher who was explaining the history of totem poles in Native American culture accidentally touched
They're not gonna touch it. Those kids are not gonna touch
While
it.
experiencing the pain of her transformation, she fell against the sculpture in a panic, not realizing it had been what caused her to change. This repeated triggering of the object's anomalous effects led to her untimely death, an event that had to be wiped from the minds of her students by the Foundation, using the careful application of Class B.
So without even knowing she was
For now,
changing, she touched it multiple
SCP-1579 is kept in a
times,
secure, sterile
and it caused her to
environment at
die.
a Foundation storage warehouse.
That's fucked up.
Personnel are not permitted to make any contact with it, so there's no need to worry about accidentally
I would,
running
dude.
into
Lock that thing up.
SCP-1579 in the wild. Although, there are always plenty of other things to worry about while out on a hike through the forest. Things that could be right behind you. Now check out SCP-173 the
So I feel like that's just an origin story for skinwalkers, but all in all, a very interesting SCP. I really enjoyed that. This was SCP-1579 by SCP Explained, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and if you'd like me, subscribe, and I am out of here.